is consist of GIS technology in forest management and planning. So, as you all know, in our this subject, which is geoinformatics for forestry and ecology, here we have to focus on GIS technology with reference to mapping and management of different forest activities which we can do with this technology. So here in this lecture we will be focusing on the GIS technology in forest management and mapping. So the content which I'm going to cover in this PPT is the use of GI science in for different complex situations of forestry, the main direction of the use of GIS in forest different forestry applications, and the main groups of GIS users who can use different softwares which we can use for the management and mapping purposes of forest, and what are the modern trends which we can use in different forest complex situations, mapping and all. So, as we all know, the use of GIS technologies uh, in forestry or different applications of forestry, it basically includes the introduction of automated systems before GIS. So before GIS, we used to do each and every survey with the different manual activities, but with the help of GIS and different, digital surveying techniques, it becomes easier for us to do this kind of surveys. Then the introduction of GIS technologies in forest management production that started in 1990s late to 2016, and then we are using different GIS technologies into the forest activities. Now the introduction of these different automated systems. First, the development and implementation of different automated systems of scientific research, which includes the different kinds of modelings related to the forest growth, growth of the forest stand in forested areas, processing and storage of different sample plots, which we take into consideration for these mapping and modeling strategies, different data sets for scientists for the automation and planning purposes, processing and presentation of these forest management information for different forest managers. Now these automated systems, because we can apply these automated systems or these GIS technologies into a large areas where we cannot access even, so they help us in different kinds of plannings and management of different forest related degradation related activities. So these automated systems, they helps us in mapping, processing, and finally the management of different forest activities. So they are very helpful tool for these forest related activities. The main consumers of this automated systems in forestries were the research and the project institutes, ministries of forestries, forest management enterprises, forestry committees in republics, and different universities and technical schools. So who are, who are using this kind of automated systems? We as a researchers, different organizations, all of us, we are being benefited by these GIS or remote sensing or GIS, different modeling techniques, automated systems, you can say. So then we have the introduction of GIS technologies in different forest management and production related activities. Firstly, the improvement and automation of the stages of forest inventories and production, creation of forest maps, formation of different geo information databases for forest inventories and forest management and planning. So firstly, these GIS technologies, they are very helpful for, as I told you, different inventories related to the forest. For example, we have the inventories which which took place in 1990s. So now the updation of these inventories are very easy due to these GIS technologies. So we can go for the automation of these forest inventories with the very easy go. Then the creation of different forest maps, formations of different geo information related databases of forest inventories. And finally, if we have these data sets in a right and proper manner, then we can go for different management and planning related activities. Then the second objective or the use of GIS technologies in forestry application is the development and implementation of the systems of continuous forest management in the practice of forestry, which is based on the periodic updation of the different geo databases related to forestry. Okay, so for example, I'm right now talking about the change detection. Periodic updation means if there is a change in forest, so we can show or we can observe it on the basis of different periods of time. Like in 1990, how it was looking in 1995, what changes are there, whether they are in positive manner or in negative manner. If negative, what are those impacts, we can locate them, and then we can go for different plannings also. Then continuous forest management was carried out in forest districts with intensive economic activities. So secondly, based on this periodical change, we can locate, we can also have studies, like we can study for a particular district, we can study for a complete state, we can study for a complete nation or a world. So whatever the requirement is, as per that we can go for the periodic change in terms of different forest activities. And we can target our areas, what are the priorities areas where we need to go for the management, and what are the areas which we can treat as a little bit leniently. So these GIS technologies, since we can apply in a larger area with the one go, so yes, we need to go for the different field verifications, but with low cost, with low time, we can manage the things with the help of these geospatial technologies. Then the use of GIS technologies in forest management. Forest districts, committees, departments of forestries, the main task to be solved are in search for information in forestry database management, processing of the log material, and formation of the documents. Okay, so the use of GIS, it has decreased these kind of things, where we are talking about the inventories, where we are talking about the different processing of materials, where we are talking about the manual updation of the things. So with GIS, these all problems are solved in a manner where we are able to save our time, where we are able to give um, uh, with a little time, we can update the data sets also for a larger area, for the interest of people, for the interest of the organizations who are working for those areas. And with the help of different models, with the help of different mapping techniques, we are able to perform it in much better forms. Then the extension of range of GIS tasks taking into account with changes in the forest legislation. The use of GIS technologies for tasks identified in new forestry legislation, the state inventories of forest cadastral mapping, forest inventories, they became very easy with the use of these tools. Then the gradual integration of forestry with GIS has led to a modern information technologies where software and hardwares, processing of remote sensing data sets, modeling of the relief features, internet technologies, geo-positioning, use of mobile device. Okay, so earlier what we were talking about the normal changes, normal mapping techniques, but with a gradual, increasing, in the digital databases or the digital advancements, you can say, the gradual advancements in the GIS technology, the integration of forestry with GIS and other modern information systems like technology, softwares, hardwares, modeling techniques with different relief features, internet technologies where we are talking about the geoportals and all, then the geopositioning and use of mobile devices like GPS and all. Okay, it has further enhanced the application of GIS into the forestry activities. Now, with the help of this GI science, or you can say geoinformatics, what we are able to do, we are even able to know about the species level characterization of the each and every tree. We are also able to know about the height of individual tree inside the forested area if we are going for that much minutely surveying in the forested areas, or we are even managing the pest infection with the help of different hyperspectral technologies where we are getting to know that inside the forest area there is some pest infection based on their spectral resolutions. We are also able to plan for different plantation activities into inaccessible areas where there is a what you can say the man cannot access with the different high technologies. We are able to plan plantation even in those areas. Okay, then the production of forest maps. Okay, earlier, matlab initially when this technique, as I have told you earlier, came into existence, then we are only focusing on the inventories, on the mapping of different forests. But now, even the compartment level mapping, which is the smallest unit to be surveyed by these forest departments, that level of mapping we are having with us with the help of these geospatial technologies. Updation is also very easy. If suppose in complete forest area there is only some patch that has to be rectified, or there is a land cover change in that particular patch, we need to change that only, which is very easily we can do in the previous existing map of ours. So updating of a database is whether it is spatial or non-spatial is with the fraction of time, if we are talking about the geospatial technologies. Then GIS softwares for national state mapping, like we are earlier we are using ArcGIS, ArcView, but nowadays many open source softwares are alert, there, with which we can easily go for the mapping also. Okay, then we have use of photogrammetry, mobile devices for making and visualization of forest inventories, with drones also we can go for hyperspectral or those kind of mappings where we can plan for, I told you, like different plantations of the trees and all. So use of photogrammetry and the mobile devices for making and visualizing the forest inventory database is also being taken into consideration for the mapping purposes or the visualization of forest purposes. Okay, so with that also we can go for different kinds of mapping. Then the benefits to use GIS technologies in forest for forest inventories. What are the benefits? Now we need to discuss the benefits of these GIS technologies for forest inventories. Now, when we are talking about the inventories, the reduction of share of manual, labor for office forest inventory works. Okay, the reduction of, now one man can enter all these things. We don't require many people, so the reduction of sharing of manual labor for office forest inventory works is managed, making of maps and databases and processing. Okay, then the improvement of processes of data conservation and processing. Second is the improvement of data processes and conservation of and the processing is also improved. Then the increasing of quality and precision of forest maps. Okay, we can also increase the use of these technology. It has increased the quality as well as the precision of the maps, because we are taking different photogrammetric tools into consideration. We are taking the GPS for quantification. So the quality as well as the quantification or the precision of these maps has increased with the use of these new geospatial technologies. Then the improvement in visualization, because uh, we can go for a small patch visualization, we can see the complete area in a one go. So it has also improved the visualization results of inventory and forest planning. We can also see the change, like what changes has took place if we see the 2001 image and 2011 image. 2011 and we can go for the comparative analysis that in 2001 what was there, 2011, and what led to these kind of things also we can predict by seeing only. He may be the settlement has increased, that may led to the decrease in the forested areas, and further the wildlife in that area is also being affected by those things. So these kind of analysis by seeing only we can assume. Later on we can go for the solving of these kind of problems also. We can take up that as a problem, and we can come out with some results, or we can submit some reports as far as the improvement of these areas are concerned. Then improvement of processes of comparing of data and getting of spatial characteristics, estimation of forestry, analysis of connected databases for decision of the task of the forest management and planning. Okay, so then after visualization also what we can go for, we can go for the comparing of different data sets with each other. We can also have an spatial characteristics knowledge in that particular area. Estimation of forestry analysis also we can do with these GIS data sets. And finally, based on these visualization, based on this periodical change analysis, based on the inventories of different years, updation of these maps, we can go for different planning in those areas. And with planning we can also go for the management of different activities into those areas. Then interaction with GIS, with other specific and particular areas. Like forest sciences, if we are talking about the GIS, like if you go through your previous semesters where we have studied about the GIS, that is Geographic Information System or Science, there we are dealing with the information science with the spatial data sets, database management, and yes, of course, some remote sensing techniques. But here, when we are talking about the forestry and ecology, we are specifically focusing on the forest activities, and these forests are interacting with the different softwares, different hardwares techniques, and different database managements with reference to the forest changes or the forest developments in those areas, and the remote sensing data sets. So, statistics, ecology, environmental science, forest policies, inventories, plannings, they are directly being, related with these GIS techniques or geoinformatics techniques, because we are talking about the statistics changes which are taking place into those areas. We are talking about the changes which are related to the environment, maybe meteorological, maybe some other soil or other, and then what policies has to be made to reduce if there are negative changes, and what policies has to be reframed if there are positive things which are happening in those areas, and what are the plannings as per those things we need to go for. Then the forest resources as the forest object, use of IT and GIS. Like forest ecosystems are very complex, containing the interconnected elements like tree ecological groups, layers, different landscape units. Okay, so the forest ecosystems are the special objects that are important for them, inventory, planning, and any kind of management activities. So we have to be have the as per the modern demand, we have to have the forest management and planning by means of a great knowledge about the growth and volumes information related to the forest. So for on the basis of those growth activities or the degradation into the forest areas, we can manage for the sustainable forest management activities. The different kinds of state forest inventories can be done, the monitoring and mapping can be done for different kinds of forest ecosystem managements. So with the help of GIS and IT and remote sensing, geoinformatics, it is becoming very easy to go for these kind of inventories or these kind of database management of those forested areas. And then yes, of course, going for different kinds of modelings and management of these kind of forested areas. So if we are talking about the role of IT, GIS, so we as forest ecosystems, they have the complex systems in terms of the tree ecological groups, layers, landscapes, etc. So we need to have the inventories of these things. We need to have a proper database management system of those things. And finally, the after the database management, we can go for the different models. Okay, and then after the modeling, we have a map which are showing the areas which has to be managed, or the areas where we can go for sustainable forest management related activities. And finally, based on those areas, the planners, the managers, the government authorities, they can go for different policies related to the forest management activities. So this is how this technology is being implemented, or this is being used for the management of different forest ecosystems. Then the main direction of use of GIS in the forest is like we need to go for different field management processing. So the determination of qualitative and quantitative characteristics of forest, it is very helpful. Okay, like different kinds of data sets you need to measure with the help of different kinds of surveying techniques. Then you need to go for the processing of the collected data sets, and then yes, we can go for the stratification of the forest. Second thing is to assess the effectiveness of the measures of the conservation, protection, reproduction of the forest, and the use of forest by different methods of management. Then the remote sensing forest monitoring can be done. Then the formation of federal information of forest things can be done. Inventories of forest lands can be done. And then the development of the forest planning, forest plans, forest management activities can be done with the help of GIS, DBMS, etc. Then finally, for authentication of these maps and all, we can go for different land use surveys and cadastral surveys. And then yes, of course, we can plan for different management activities. So these are the main direction with the use of GIS we can go for in the different forest management related activities. The main groups of GIS users are the state and private forest inventories companies, the forest administration, and the companies or the leaseholders, and the administrative of nature reserves, national parks, etc., are the main users. Then the GIS softwares. Okay, GIS technologies are very useful for making GIS database and forest management planning. So since 1990, the forest inventory enterprises located in different parts of the country has been using the GIS as a tool. So initially it was used for the mapping purposes, but later on, with the help of different models, different data structures for different kinds of management strategies, it is also being used. The main developers and consumers of GIS softwares are the state forest management, etc. The typical structure of GIS for forest management is the GIS professionals, applications of different GIS into visualization, and finally we come out with some planning. So this is a typical structure of the GIS data set which we are taking into consideration. Then the GIS technology in forest management planning. The forest management planning should include the planning of the forest district and forest parks, planning of protection forest, uh, then reserve forest, etc. Inventories of stands, identification, recoding, and assessment of forest resources can be done. Then quantitative and qualitative, both the things can be calculated, and based on that, the planning of forest protection and renewable activities can be done. Then the forest inventory for management, classification of forest, like we have already discussed, these kind of things can be done. Classification of forest divisions into the categories of different regimes, limit, targets, and uses. What are the uses? And then use of forest resource on practices, that also can be done. Okay. So then, in brief, in today's lecture, what all we have studied, we have studied how different kinds of geospatial techniques can be, integrate with the different kinds of forest mapping and management activities. So I have tried to cover different tools, techniques, which can be used for the mapping and management of these forests, and to technologies like GPS, GIS, image processing. They can combinedly integrate, and then we can have suitable, areas, or the targeted areas, or different application of forest, like forest mapping, like wildlife management, then different forest damage assessment, then forest degradation management, sustainable forest resource mapping, etc., can be done with the help of these geospatial techniques. So this is all for today's lecture, and maybe in next coming lectures we will be studying a specific application with reference to the forest management and mapping activities. Right now we have in uh, uh, combination of all the things which we can do with the help of geoinformatics that we have studied. In the coming lectures, like role of hyperspectral remote sensing in mapping and management, or the drone application in forest mapping and management. So those kind of specific application we can study in the coming lectures. Now you all can appear for your this test in your LMS. For today, uh, we are finishing off the class. Thank you so much.